Hey guys, welcome to Car World, and today I wanted to do something interesting. So I went on Twitter and I was like, what should I do for a video? And then someone suggested that I do the controversial opinions tag. Yes, this is actually a tag among politically driven YouTubers. So today I'm just going to be looking at a list of controversial topics and just stating my opinion, and this is going to get pretty heated. And I think some of these issues are pretty important with Trump being president and all that, and Republican White House rule, so a lot of these issues are under fire right now. So let's dive into it. Like Michael Phelps. Okay, that was a bad joke. So the first one is gun control. And I think I'm really divided on gun control because, I don't know, I don't like guns. I think that they're especially unnecessary in a society where we have police. I just think it's kind of scary to think that someone's going to have, anyone on the street could have a gun that could literally kill you in their purse or their pocket or their waistband, and that's just really scary. However, that's just my personal opinion on it. And I don't apply that to my politics necessarily, but I'm very much aware of the Constitution, and I support the Constitution, obviously. And, there's a Second Amendment right to bear arms, and I can respect that, even though I'm a little terrified of guns. I can respect that. However, regulations are important. Now, a lot of people get mixed up because they think that when I say I want guns regulated, that somehow translates in their mind that I want to take away their guns. No, I don't want to take away your guns, just don't be a criminal. And I think it's just common logic that if someone has a criminal record or has abused drugs before, not abused guns before, or maybe drugs too. Let's just put that out there. And if they have a poor mental health state, I think it's just common logic to not allow them to buy a gun. But I think, and I don't necessarily understand why people are so against gun control, because if you're a law-abiding citizen that lives in America, you can have your guns. And in a lot of countries where there's regulations, such as Canada, you can still buy a gun pretty easily, just not if you're a criminal, which I guess most Republicans are, but that's irrelevant. Death penalty is cruel and unnecessary. There we go. Now, a lot of people say that criminals who have done awful things should be put to death, and I just find that super barbaric. And I don't think that we people have the right to decide who dies. And I don't know. I personally believe in rehabilitation and healing rather than just putting the person to death. I don't think that solves anything. When you heal a person and you're trying to, rehabilitate them, that's doing more positive than just killing them. And that's just my opinion. I don't know. I don't have a very strong opinion. Some of these I don't have a very strong opinion on, but death penalty, I don't know. I just find it barbaric and unnecessary. And I understand why people are pro-death penalty, because they don't necessarily want to have taxpayers paying for the rehabilitation, and I get that. That makes sense. And it also makes sense that they don't want to pay for jails. Those people have to be in jail for their whole life, and taxpayers' money is paying for that. So I understand from that perspective, but I just don't personally agree with it. The next one is the drinking age. Should we lower it? I think not. To me, I think 21 is a good age to start drinking, because alcohol is a dangerous substance. It's dangerous. It's more dangerous than marijuana, which is illegal. And, alcohol leads to many deaths, and it can be dangerous. It can be abused. It can be addictive. And I think that should be something that a real adult should be able to decide whether to have or not. And I feel like 18 is just really young. And you know, sometimes when you're 18, you're still in school. You're still in high school, haven't graduated yet. And I just feel like high schoolers being able to drink. And I know I hear the argument that maybe it should be 19 instead, so we don't have that issue of high schoolers drinking. But I just really feel like 21 is the right age, because it's when your brain is developed enough for you to make full decisions about what you're doing, and for you to really comprehend like the risks, and you can like weigh the risks and the pros in your head when deciding whether to intake something that could potentially harm you. So yeah, and my computer is glitching again, so that's nice. Okay, there we go. So the next one is minimum wage. Now this is a highly debated issue, especially right now. And we have a lot of people debating about this right now and whether it should be like raised or lowered. And I think that when some people think of minimum wage, they think of teenagers, they think of slackers who are just trying to earn more money. You know, I feel like there needs to be a new perspective on minimum wage. And, you know, it's impossible. The truth is, underlying truth is that it's impossible to make a living amount on minimum wage. You can't, like, there's a study that showed that you can't have a single bedroom apartment just on living minimum wage. So of course, like, that's an issue, and I feel like it should be raised so that those people can earn enough money to live, enough money to have food and housing. And I feel like that would be beneficial to society as a whole. Illegal immigration, highly debated topic, especially during the 2016 election. Everyone was talking about is the wall and how the Mexicans or whatever are coming in and stealing jobs and everything. What I have to say about that is it's a statistically proven fact that 41% of immigrants come in by plane and overstay their visas. So they come to the US legally, and then with a visa, and then they overstay it and they just never leave. And that's obviously an issue, but when you're talking about putting a physical wall, like a physical barrier on the border, that's not going to solve immigration. Study after study and expert after expert has told us that that's not going to solve the issue. So I think why people are so pro this border, this wall on the southern border is like it's a mental thing. Like having a physical wall is like mental security. And maybe that's like what I think it might be. But I really wish that people would take the perspective of the immigrants, of the refugees, of the people who are desperate enough to try and get into America. And I think America has a real big problem right now with this USA, like, America first mentality. And I think that mentality is very dangerous and detrimental to society because, like, I believe, like, I'm a globalist, so, you know, maybe I'm not taking up, like, other people's perspectives in mind, but I believe as a global citizen, it is our job to reach out and help those in need, even if they aren't in our country. And, you know, when someone needs to sneak over the border, it's not because they're coming to steal your jobs. It's not because they're coming to be criminals. I mean, some might be criminals, but that's a huge generalization because most of them, they need to get into America, especially with refugees. Now, I wish that people would try to put themselves in other people's shoes because, you know, these refugees are literally escaping terror. Like, they were forced out of their houses from war and trauma. And now they have to go to a new country. You think they want to? No, it's not a choice to be a refugee. Like, they are trying to keep their families safe. They are trying to go somewhere where they can raise their children in a safe environment where there's not fucking tanks rolling down the street. Like, and this really makes me angry because people are just so stuck in their own lives and they can't see anything out of their own box. They can't see anything out of their own perspective. And I think it's very important to look beyond your own perspective. and to try and put yourself in another person's shoes and to help people that are struggling, because I believe that it's our duty as a citizen and as someone who's very fortunate enough to be born in America and have all of these opportunities, and to help other people that are struggling and literally escaping terror that they have no choice over. So, yeah. And, I think when people say that they're going to steal your jobs or whatever, tell me, would you go in a field for 12 hours in the hot sun picking berries all day? Is that the job that you take? Is it? Do you work in a factory? Do you go and clean houses all day? Is that the kind of job that you have? No, they're not stealing your jobs. They're doing the jobs that nobody else does. So, that's why I get so angry about this topic. I am sorry. But I think perspective is everything, and I think that it's very important to put other people's perspectives in mind, and I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, that is so important. It's so important. So the next topic is abortion. Now this is, I think, the most controversial topic that one can pick, because, a lot of people think about it, oh, you're either like pro-choice or pro-life, and I think it's a lot more complicated than that, and there's like a gray area. Well, like, nothing in life is black and white, but I think that, especially with this issue, people are very, very passionate about it. One way or another, they are very passionate about it. So my stance on this, and this might get hate, but I don't care, because I love to express my opinions, but I am pro-autonomy. So therefore, that makes me, I guess, pro-choice. But, I think that ultimately the choice is the woman's, and it's her body, and it's her life, and it's ultimately her that's being affected. And when I talk to people who have a different perspective on it, and they talk about, oh, the baby, and they go on this murder rhetoric, that's not scientifically accurate. Like, you can't murder something that, like, isn't aware of its own existence. Like, that's not how it works. And legally, like, murder is a legal definition, and it doesn't apply to abortion because abortion is obviously legal in all 50 states, and it's just a word that doesn't apply to it. So you can't call it murder or killing, because it's just not accurate. And people are very emotionally driven about this topic, and I feel like that's the issue. Like, you need to look at the facts before you formulate an opinion, just not on, like, your emotions, because it has a lot more to do than emotions. So yeah, I think that someone has complete control over their own body, and even if it's a living thing that's inside them, even if, like, it's a fetus, it's a baby, whatever you call it, they still aren't entitled to a person's body. And by the laws of bodily autonomy, they are legally allowed to get it out of their body if they don't want it there. And that's the end of that. Like, this is a settled issue, and I don't really get why people still fight over it, because it's a pretty settled issue. Like, it has been this way for almost 70 years that abortion has been legal, and women have been allowed to, abort if they want. Now, I got asked once, like, do I believe that there should be, like, regulations on abortion, and I think yes and no, because part of me says, at no matter what stage the pregnancy is, it's still a person still has authorization over their own body, even if the baby is really developed. But another part of me says, well, there should be a cutoff, because then, the baby gains sentience and viability, and those are important aspects to fetal development, and that should be taken into consideration too. So I feel like the cutoff that most states have, which is anywhere from 22 to 28 weeks, is good, because it gives the woman enough time to exercise her right to autonomy while also taking into consideration the fetus and its development and brain activity and all of that. So yeah, that's my stance on it. Subscribe for more. I make a lot of different videos, not just on politics. So I'll see you guys later. Bye!